Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe I'll just start before I get into the statement that's prepared here. Just remind the committee what happened when the Secretary of Homeland Security testified in this room to us when the minority party asked the Secretary what we thought was a pretty basic question. We asked, it's been reported that there were 42 individuals who've come across the border who are on the terrorist watch list. What is the status of those individuals? And I would just remind the committee of the Secretary's answer. He said, I don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? You're the Secretary of Homeland Security. Your job is to protect and secure and make safe the country here. And he didn't know. And he had to get back with us and get an answer. So that is our concern. We want all the information related to these folks who've been apprehended. Democrats have embraced an open borders policy and maligned our hardworking men and women at Customs and Border Patrol. But one thing we should be able to agree on is that people who mean to do harm to our country and our way of life should not be able to bypass screening and simply walk into the United States. We should all want to make sure that terrorists are not sneaking across the southern border, but so far we've not been able to get any meaningful information to assure us that the Department of Homeland Security is taking this problem seriously. Here's what we know. In April, news reports emerged that 2 men from Yemen had been arrested at the southwest border who were identified on the terrorist watch list. Then in August of 2021, Rodney Scott, then the head of the Border Patrol agents, told us that, quote, their national security mission is paramount right now despite, this is one of our agents telling us, despite the Biden administration focus on migrant families and children. Scott went on to tell the agents, if a national security crisis, immigration is just a subcomponent of it right now. It's just a cover for the massive amounts of smuggling going on across the southwest border to include aliens on the terrorist screening database at a level we have never seen before. That's a real threat, close quote. January 2022, Scott told the Texas Public Policy Foundation during a panel discussion that U.S. Border Patrol agents stopped 14 non-citizens who were named on the terror watch list and tried to sneak into the United States. On January 27th, this year, an investigative journalist for Deadline Detroit told Fox News that a, quote, Lebanese-born national listed on the FBI's terrorist watch list was released in the United States after crossing the border illegally. April 18th, Fox News reported that a FOIA request confirmed that 23 people who came across the border between January 2021, December 31st, 2021, appeared on the terrorist screening database. And we know that so far this fiscal year, U.S. Border Patrol has encountered 66 illegal aliens between ports of entry on the southwest border who were listed on that terrorist screening database. This is 51 more than all of the last fiscal year and is exponentially more than in any other recent fiscal year. Think about it. 66 individuals on the terrorist watch list that attempted to get into our country by crossing the border illegally just this year. And those are just the ones we know about. When asked by committee Republicans during the April hearing, as I referred to earlier, the status of these aliens and whether they were detained or released in the U.S. Interior, Secretary Mayorkas couldn't even provide an answer. Given that there have been nearly 1 million known gotaways along the southwest border since President Biden took office, there's good reason to believe that individuals listed in the terrorist screening database have crossed illegally into the United States. It's our job to make sure the DHS has taken this matter seriously. We hope that they are fulfilling their responsibility to protect the homeland. But given this administration's attitude about border security, we're not so sure. That's why it's imperative that the department provide us with our requested information. I hope you support it. I yield back.
That objection.
And the fact that they want to cancel the president who cut taxes, the president who reduced regulations, the president prior to COVID had the greatest economy, lowest unemployment in 50 years, the president who got us out of the Iran deal, put the embassy in Jerusalem, brought hostages home from North Korea, put 3 great justices on the Supreme Court, gave us a new NAFTA agreement, the Abraham Accords, the COVID vaccine, and who built the wall. It's about politics. This is about getting the president of the United States. They spied on his campaign before he was elected. 19 minutes into his presidency, they started the impeachment push. 3-year Mueller investigation, 19 lawyers, 40 agents, 500 witnesses, 2,500 subpoenas, $40 million to find nothing. Impeachment round 1 based on an anonymous whistleblower with no firsthand knowledge who was biased against the president and who worked for Joe Biden. And now it's impeachment round 2. It's always been about getting the president no matter what. It's an obsession, an obsession that is now broadened. It's not just about impeachment anymore. It's about canceling, as I've said. Canceling the president and anyone that disagrees with them. The Ayatollah can tweet, the president can't. Democrats can object on January 6, 2017, but Republicans aren't allowed to object on January 6, 2021. Democrats say Antifa is a myth. Republicans condemn all violence all the time. The double standard has to stop. And frankly, the attack on the First Amendment has to stop. And stop and think about it. Do you have a functioning First Amendment when the cancel culture only allows one side to talk? When you can't even have a debate in this country, this great country, the greatest country ever? It needs to stop, because if it continues, it won't just be Republicans who get canceled. It won't just be the President of the United States. The cancel culture will come for us all. Right. America is a great country, the greatest country ever. It seems to me that we need to think about how great the people of this nation really are. Think about what we've accomplished in the past and begin to come together as leaders who represent so many great folks across our districts. Think about this. Think about this. In 1903, in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, two guys fly this thing they called a plane 100 feet. Barely got off the ground. Barely got off the ground. Amazing thing. 44 years later, Chuck Yeager breaks the sound barrier. In 44 years, we go from two guys flying a contraption they called a plane a few hundred feet to Chuck Yeager breaking the sound barrier. And 22 years after that, another American steps on the moon. Think about it. In one lifetime, in 66 years, two guys flying 100 feet to putting a man on the moon. That's what this country is capable of. That's what we can do. And we, as the Congress who represent the people who did that, should start leading. Should start understanding what really is going on here. So I hope we defeat this. I hope we can begin to come together and recognize the greatness of the American people and focus on the things they want us to focus on. I yield back our time.
Gentleman.
And today's actions of the Speaker just confirm that. But frankly, and I've said this before, what else are they going to talk about? I mean, they're so focused on the January 6th committee. What else are they going to talk? Are they going to talk about crime? The fact that crime is up in every major urban area in this country? They're going to talk about the border crisis? I mean, think about this. March was the highest month on record for illegal crossings until April. April was the highest month on record until May. May was the highest month on record until June. Can't talk about that. They're going to talk about inflation. They're going to talk about the fact that the price of eggs is up, the price of milk is up, the price of bread is up, the price of gas is up, the price of an airline ticket is up, the price of the price of everything is up. They can't talk about that. So they're going to be partisan, and they're going to focus on this. But as the leader said, and as Mr. Banks said, I don't think they're going to address the fundamental question. The fundamental question of why wasn't there a proper security presence at the Capitol that day? They're not going to address that. And only one person can answer that question. Only one. Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. My hunch is the reason they don't want to address that question, my hunch is because what happened all last year? The Democrats normalized anarchy. They normalized rioting and looting. And when rioters and looters attacked our law enforcement personnel, when rioters and looters destroyed small businesses, what did Democrats do? They went out and raised money to bail them out of jail, and they continue to talk about defunding the police, and in fact did that in all these major urban areas, which is why crime is up. So they don't want to talk about that stuff. They just want to be partisan. They just want to continue to attack the former president. They want to play their political game. So I applaud Leader McCarthy for saying we're going to do our job. We're going to continue to work and get to the bottom and answer the questions that the leader raised, the questions that, frankly, the American people want answers to. With that, I recognize you.
Thank you for coming on short notice. Speaker Pelosi has taken the unprecedented step of denying the minority party's picks for the Select Committee on January 6th. This represents something that has not happened in the House before for a Select Committee by the historian. It's an egregious abuse of power. Pelosi has broken this institution, denying the voice of members who have served in the military. Jim Banks, a Navy veteran who served in Afghanistan. Serves on HASC. Chair of the largest caucus in the Republican Conference. And law enforcement, as well as a leader of a standing committee. Jim Jordan isn't ranking of just his first committee, he's done it before. Jim Jordan has served on select committee and serves on one now. Made it undeniable this panel has lost all legitimacy and credibility. And it shows exactly what I warned back at the beginning of January, that Pelosi would play politics with this. For more than 6 months, you have a better example of the Senate, bipartisan. Schumer didn't pick who went on of the Republicans. They already have the report done by 2 different committees. 2 main questions. Why was the Capitol so ill prepared for that day when they knew on December 14th they had a problem? And what have we done to make sure that never happens again? Pelosi has created a sham process. Unless Speaker Pelosi reverses course and seats all 5 Republicans, we will not participate. But we think it's too important that those 2 questions, why were we ill prepared? Why did they know on December 14th? Why would they jeopardize the lives of the Capitol Police? We will run our own investigation. We have law enforcement, we have military, we have doctors, we have people from all walks of life. They want to know the answer. The American people deserve that. They don't deserve politics. They don't deserve destroying the institution. No committee in Congress will work if one person is picking all who can serve. This has not happened before. House Democrats must answer this question. Why are you allowing a lame duck speaker to destroy this institution? This is the people's house, not Pelosi's house. We will do our job, though. We asked to do our job. We want to do our job. I may object to the people that she put on the committee, but I respect her right to do it, just as every leader has done before. Destroy an institution for your own political gain. America expects more and deserves more. With that, I want to bring up Congressman Jim Banks, individual who served his country in Afghanistan, served in a state legislature,